5:45?
Okay, all right. The time is now 5:45 on the 23rd of October, and the special meeting of the Campo Independent School District Board of Trustees is now called to order. Let the record show that this meeting will be posted in accordance with section 551.043 of the Texas Government Code with regard to posting notice of public meetings, and that there is a quorum of members present. At this time, would you please stand, lead us in prayer, and then we'll pray the lead. Dear Heavenly Father, we give you thanks and pray that you guide us in our thoughts, ideas, and decisions. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Because the only thing in this one is the public hearing.
Yeah, so
Yes, we just,
now the public hearing.
yep, open the floor to anyone who'd like to make a comment on the first report, the public hearing.
Excuse me? That me?
No,
No,
not yet.
This is the first one.
Yes,
Okay.
this is just the public hearing for for Mr. Wells' first report, Financial Integrity System of Texas.
If nobody wants to hear it, we'll turn it
Not
over.
yet, we'll tell you when you're up.
We'll turn it over to you.
Okay, basically what we have is this year's first report. First report for the 2022 and 2023 school year. It basically works in arrears. We actually received a rating of an A. We actually had a score of 96. We did not receive 100. That score is made up of basically assets versus liability component. So basically we have 15.6 million in assets, and we have a liability showing about 6.7 million. And so once you divide it out, that comes up to 2.3, and they just use a scale. If you're at 2 or more, you get this many points, or if you get 2.5 to 2.0, you get 6 points, but if you're at 3, you get the full 10 points. So basically, we would have had 18 or 19 million in assets, then we would have got the full 10 points, because it's a assets versus liabilities score matrix. So we did basically maximize on all of the points in every other section, so we received a score of 96.
And if the board will recall, back in the 2022-2023 school year, the board requested that we use as much funds as we could without getting into 3 months of operating expense. And the purpose was to take care of our facilities and maximize what we could do with our facilities to get them up to speed, up to grade. And so that is what we did, and I think that's what caused us to have a little bit of a lower ratio between our assets and our liabilities.
Right. Any discussion, question from the board? Yeah, we drew our fund balance down a little bit.
During that time, yes, sir, to fix things.
Fixing up facilities that needed it very badly, but we were still over the 20% threshold. In fact, we were 22, over 22%, so we were still in good shape. We just drew down that fund balance from, it was at a pretty good high at the time,
Right.
but we were in a lot better shape then.
Mr. Wells will, depending upon what the board decides to do with the consent agenda, potentially he could pull an item out of the consent agenda and talk a little bit more about this, about funding when we get to that section of the agenda.
The regular.
Ms. Staff or Ms. Rod, do you have any interest in speaking on the first public hearing rating? Otherwise, we're going to call the first meeting to adjourn. But...
Nope, but thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
I guess we will, call that meeting to a close.
Yes. 5:50.
Call it 6 o'clock.
By the time we get
Time is now 6 o'clock on the 23rd day of October, and this regular meeting of the Ocampo Independent School District Board of Trustees is now in order. Let the record show the meeting was duly posted in accordance with the Texas Government Code. At this time, would everybody please stand for the prayer and talk about the pledge of allegiance. Dear Heavenly Father, we humbly ask for your divine guidance to grant us the wisdom needed to make sound decisions that will benefit our students and community. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comment. At regular meetings, the board shall allow 15 minutes to hear persons who desire to make comments to the board that are not related to items on the agenda on the night of the regular meeting. Persons wishing to participate in this portion of the meeting shall sign up before the meeting begins and shall indicate the topic. Delegations of more than 5 persons shall appoint one person to present their views before the board. No presentation shall exceed 5 minutes. And we have somebody.
This one's on the agenda, so.
Oh, this one's on the
Yes,
agenda,
sir.
so this will be public testimony on agenda items.
Right.
So, the board shall provide an opportunity for public to address the board regarding an item on the agenda for an open meeting of the board before or during the board's consideration of the agenda item, provided the requirement of written notice are met. So we'll listen to that public comment when that agenda item comes up.
No, he wants to do it before the meeting.
You want to do it now?
He does.
All right.
Mr. Bender, you're up.
Yes. I became concerned when I found out that we're going to consolidate a bunch of schools. And I thought this was several years ago when we built the different schools on different campuses that worked out good. I know one problem, Hudson probably has a problem with traffic, and it's going to get worse if you had another building over there. I just don't see the deal. And as far as how we get consultants in here to give us bond proposals and stuff, paid off one bond last year. We didn't get a tax break on the homeowners, and now you're proposing an $80 million bond. And as far as I'm concerned, I want the high school to get what they need. That's top priority to me. Now these others are minor, so we could allow some money to substitute and remodel or redo what has to be done there, but not for $80 million. That's I just don't see the but it's not conceivable. Not when we can't get a tax break, when all the other school districts around give a tax break. Now, it was good business, according to the board, to pay off the bond. Well, how many more bonds do we have unpaid that we're paying on now?
We really can't respond. I mean, this is.
I'm sorry.
We really can't respond. This is not a give and take. I mean, you're doing public comment, but
They can't respond to your questions right now.
Huh?
They can't respond to your questions right
Well,
now.
I understand. I'm just input.
fine.
This is for y'all y'all are the leaders.
Yes, sir. We're listening.
But I just want to remind everyone, we had leaders years ago when we built all these buildings, and it was conceivable that was about the right thing to separate by grade age levels that we did. And now you want to put another building on another campus, but I didn't understand it all, but maybe pre-K through 5th grade. Well, that's not what we decided on years ago. So that's all I have. I just think, money ought to be spent wisely at the high school and wisely at the other schools as needed, not to consolidate and add more problems to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. He was there.
Were you there? Okay. We'll move on then. Consent agenda would be the next.
No, recognition.
Oh, recognition, I'm sorry. I gotta get that.
So, recognition, we would like Mr. Wells to do an introduction of our Texas Association of Secondary School Principals Assistant Principal of the Year for Region 3, Moises Rodriguez. Moises?
The Texas Association of Secondary School Principals is an organization in the state of Texas with over 6,000 members, representative of all 20 regions. Each region gets an opportunity to have a middle school assistant principal of the year, and a middle school principal of the year, a high school principal of the year, and a high school assistant principal of the year.
There she
So-
is.
Oh,
There you are.
Yes, I'm late because I was just with Sean Duffy, our Capturing Kids Heart Sky, feeding him dinner and sending him off, and I said, let's go, to honor Moses. So I just want to tell you, of course, you know, I'm the principal of El Capo Middle School. I'm going to tell you what I tell all the school boards. I'm the principal. My real job is I'm principal at the middle school. But today I'm representing the Texas Association of Secondary School Principals Region 3 Coordinator. And Moses Rodriguez has been honored this year. I'm going to give him a temporary award. This is just a temporary token, so he has something for this year. He'll actually be receiving his real award, which is very nice, at the Anatoly Hilton in Dallas on June 17th at Jostin's Night of the Stars banquet. And Moses has also made the very long, detailed, and arduous application to be recognized at the state level. So we all keeping our fingers crossed and prayers going up that Moses will make the finalist selection, which would be a big honor to become a finalist for that. So the process is still going on to see where he might go with this. But we're very honored at the middle school to have Moses as assistant principal. He's done a lot to be part of a team, a very important team member who's changed a lot of culture at the middle school. And so I'm extremely honored to be able to recognize you for something truly deserving. Moses is the Region 3 Assistant Principal of the Year. I want to tell you guys as a board, I want to thank you on behalf of TASSP that you guys support the membership in these organizations. Of course, I know that us, like many other schools, are going through budget cuts. But the resources that we get from TASSP are very important. And the opportunity for us to go and hear what other principals are doing around the state is important. And because I have the floor for just a second, I'm going to brag for just a second. Moses, Derek, and I presented this summer about some discipline changes that we have made over the years and the data about how that is impacting our students. And we spoke to about 300. It was standing room only. They were sitting along the walls and even around us, and we got an extreme amount of positive feedback from the organization, from the people who came to the session. So TASSP is also an opportunity for us to showcase what we're doing in our community and in our school, and it's a great opportunity to network. And then we actually got the opportunity there to mentor another school who's mirroring our discipline program at their school. And we got to have dinner with them and really mentor them. So TASSP is a very valuable resource for secondary school principals. So thank you for helping us to be a part of that organization.
Well, the three of you need to get a picture taken with Valerie, so come right up here front and center.
Absolutely.
No, get up there, Mr. Dorothy.
Hey, Alicia, will you take a picture with mine because I'll send it to you.
Try to back away there.
One, two, three.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
And it's also noteworthy to note that Mr. Trybig and Mr. Burton are in the back. They must have come in with Ms. Fellers, and that's their team of 4.
I'm just telling Mr. Rodriguez, he also has to make a presentation at the fall regional meeting. It was supposed to be spring, but they had to make a change today, so surprise. On top of everything else, you have to make a presentation.
Congratulations.
And now we're on to recognize our remarkable rice birds. And so, Alicia, do you want to start, or?
Yeah, so this round, we selected 4 of our colleagues, and as I've told you in the past, this is very hard to get it down to just 3 or 4 people, but these 4 definitely stand out in their areas and what they do, the relationships they make with their teachers that they work with, the students they work with, their dedication, their passion, it's outstanding. So I'm gonna let each supervisor tell you a little bit about each one of them. So we can start with Sandy, since you were just up, if you want to do.
Absolutely.
You've got 2 of them from middle school.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna honor Reese staff first, our professional,
Come on up, Reese.
remarkable
You
ricer.
gotta come up front.
Reese has been at El Campo Middle School for several years now. She teaches 8th grade math and Algebra 1. She's, how many years?
Like 25.
Oh, several years. And we don't want to say those big numbers because that's scary, like retirement or something. It's not that long. It's not that long, but she has been at the middle school for a long time. Reese is also one of our process champions for capturing kids' hearts on campus. She serves in a lot of capacities and almost always steps up to anything that's going on campus. She's been on that committee 3 years. I think she was one of the inaugural members. Reese makes great relationships with kids, and there's just something about being in her classroom. It's very calm. It's very nurturing. She is very procedural and methodical. This is what we're going to get through. This is what we're going to do. But it is done in a very nurturing and non-threatening way, and the students absolutely respond. So we are super honored to have Reese as a remarkable rice bird on our campus. We feel like she's a great candidate for that.
Come up front again. Come on, Sandy. Yes.
Lots of photographs. Yep, can you take care of that?
Get a picture taken. Mr. Burdick.
Congratulations, Reese.
Thank you.
You can stay there, Anthony. I'll hand you this one.
So,
Oh, you got it already.
oh, yeah, you want to do more?
Yeah, nope. Well, I don't know what it consisted of.
You can add to her, I love that.
Well, I can.
So we have a second remarkable rice bird at the middle school from our custodial staff, Margaret Solis. A little bit about Margaret. Margaret absolutely never forgets to greet everyone she encounters. She is extremely efficient and very capable. She certainly could have been the supervisor. She just declined that. That's not really her bag of tricks. But she's a very hard worker. She keeps the middle school in absolute tip-top shape. She's very quick to respond. She is kind to students and teachers alike. And I will tell you, there's just really nothing that we couldn't say, Martha, can you help? And bam, she's on it. So Margaret, not Martha, Margaret, that she can help, and she absolutely does. And so she's also extremely deserving of this honor. And we are very, very glad that she is a recipient this time. Okay, picture time.
You too.
You too.
While they're taking the picture, I'll remind everybody that one of the things that stood out is Margaret searched high and low and found a diamond that fell out of one of our teachers' rings, and so she went out of her way to look for it, find it, and give it back. And it was huge Matter of fact, when I mentioned the story in the staff meeting, the person whose diamond she found was in tears, so,
I wonder how many retainers she's probably.
You don't wanna know what we found.
okay. Then who's next?
Okay, Paul, you wanna, we've got one at the high school.
So our remarkable Riceburg is one of our counselors, Jessica Terrazas, and yeah, I can't say enough about Jessica. There is not a task that she either doesn't volunteer or just take on. She is willing to do anything and everything to help our students and our teachers be successful. You know, from, yes, counseling kids that have issues or problems or just listening to them, but that also includes staff members that have that, and she'll take those. She uses money out of her own pocket to buy snacks when kids need that. They know that they can come. She provides that safe space for everyone, and sometimes she's got to sit down and listen to me complain too. So, but then the other work that she takes on is she just goes above and beyond. So she is very well deserving of this award, and we're very grateful that she is at the high school.
Gotta come up here, Mr. Doherty.
Hey.
No.
No,
Oh, no.
come on, I'm gonna remember this.
Thank you so much. And we have another one from transportation, and I'll let Mark speak on it.
So Robert Garcia was nominated and received this award. A little bit about Robert. He's one of our drivers for the buses, and he's an outstanding driver. He's dedicated. He drives anything we ask him to drive. He's the first one there every morning at 5 o'clock. Starts other buses for the drivers so the buses have time to properly aisle before they go. So he goes above and beyond in a lot of ways, but where he really stood out, about 3 years ago, there's still a nationwide shortage of CDL drivers, and so the federal government decided in order to make things even more difficult to become a CDL driver, they were going to add a training process that goes with the CDL test. And so even though the state issues the CDL, we're under federal guidelines to get a commercial driver's license. So there's a class that goes with that you have to take before you can even attempt your CDL test. It's a 15-hour face-to-face instruction and an 8-hour classroom portion. I talked to Robert at the time to ask if he'd be interested in being our trainer, and he of course chomped at the bit because he does anything we ask him to do. And in that time, he's successfully trained 11 different people that got their CDL. We currently have 3 route drivers, 2 sub-drivers, and 3 coaches on our staff that all got trained by Robert and got their CDL. So at a time when most districts around us are experiencing a shortage, we're pretty well staffed, and it's a large part due to Robert's effort. He's really gone above and beyond. When it goes to training, like I said, each person has to have 15 clock hours of instruction, and he knows that he's working with coaches and people that have very tight schedules. So he makes sure to meet their schedule. So he's up there on weekends, at night, holidays. Anytime he has an opportunity, he's up there to train those people and make sure that they get their hours in. And in order to make sure they get the proper training, he does one-on-one sessions with them. So it's not group where you have 4 of them at a time. It's one-on-one. So he really puts the time in. This summer, after the storm, he had sustained some damage to his house. He didn't let that bother him. He showed up and made sure that everybody got trained. And like I said, he had one person in 3 years come up a little bit short. They passed the pre-trip inspection of the test, which is the hardest part. They made a mistake driving, but aside from that, he's 11 out of 12 in 3 years. So he's really going above and beyond.
Whoops, keep me up to knock you over. I was just trying to get out of the way. Got in the way.
Thank you.
All right, 1, 2, 3. All right.
Congratulations.
No, consent agenda.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, if people, they can, you're more than welcome to stay or go or whatever. I know that you're just in love with the business and operations of the district, but, on the agenda is gonna be a consent agenda and then a report on the district facility committee, and then we'll go into closed session, after that. There will be no action after the closed session, so if anybody, when closed session comes, if more people wanna go there, when we come back out of closed session, we'll be just adjourning.
Agenda item number 4 is our consent agenda according to local policy BE. The consent agenda is provided that includes items of routine and or recurring nature grouped together under one action item. Board members have been furnished with background material for each of the items listed as part of the consent agenda. Unless a board member requests that an item be withdrawn for individual consideration, the items are acted upon by one vote without separate discussion. Actions on items withdrawn from individual consideration are acted upon separately with separate motions and votes for each item. Are there any items in the consent agenda that any member of the board would like to consider under a separate motion? And I would like to pull out financials and let Mr. Wells give us a little brief.
So everything but financials is in the consent agenda.
Is there anything else that anybody would like to pull out?
Is that all of B?
No, just B, 1.
Okay.
Just be one.
Just a financial report for the month of September 2024. Okay, Mr. Wells?
Well, we want to do consent agenda first, and then the item we pull out we'll address after the consent agenda is
Okay.
voted on.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item B1.
Okay.
I'll
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda, leaving out 4B1. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Anybody opposed? And that motion passes. Okay, now, you want to talk about,
Now, we should just discuss, or actually, you'll have to have a motion after, but Mr. Wells will discuss the review of the monthly financials, because it affected our first report, and it affected the last item we shared with you all on August 28th, when we approved the budget.
Yes, so actually what you're gonna actually see on this month's financial report is you're gonna see an adjustment to our fund balance. That adjustment to our fund balance is in the positive of another basically $7 million. Let me explain to you how we actually got to that actual number. So, at the conclusion of the 22-23 school year, when we were actually funded on 261 FTE units, we were actually paid for 425 FTE units for CTE, okay? So,
Can you give me those numbers again?
yes, sir. 425
Yes, sir.
is what we
261?
is what we were paid on, but our data showed that we had should have been paid 261 FTE units, okay? So that was causing us to have a big adjustment in the amount of money. Once we got our final payment of the 2022-2023 school year, it showed that we had been overpaid because they paid us, and then our CTE data didn't match up to what they actually paid us. So going into the 23-24 school year, last year's school year, once we were going into that school year, the state basically said, since we overpaid you in 22-23, because we paid you for 425 units, your data said that you only turned in 260 FTE units. We're going to now take that money back out of your payments for the 23-24 school year. So they paid us too much in 22-23 according to their data. Now, 23-24 comes along, they say we're gonna take back all of the overpaid money, okay, of the 23-24 24 school year, okay? The 23-24 school year happens this past year, okay? So we're operating with less money because the state has actually taken the money out at the beginning, okay? But our data is now correct, but they're paying us like our data is still at the 261, okay? So at the conclusion of the school year, when we get to our data for the 23-24 school year, once we look at the final, we actually we were supposed to collect money for 452 FTE units for CTE, okay? Meaning that they owed us money, okay? So once they owed us the money, you don't get that until the settle up, okay? So that settle up came in the payment of our September payment.
About 2 weeks ago.
About 2 weeks ago. So basically, they settled up for what they had took out of our money from this current school year and gave us that money back. However, that's not the same as the previous money that was already taken. Does that make sense? That money is still, that's not, there was just, now that we recalculated and recalibrated, they paid us what they actually owed us.
Which is what?
Difference is, roughly 1.7. Because it's roughly 4 million and 2.3.
So does anybody have any questions about that particular, remember, we turned in 261 in 23. That's when we were all in San Antonio when we found that information out. And so they paid us too much because we budgeted 425. So last year, they overpaid us because they were saying we shouldn't have given you 425, we should have only given you 261. And now they're saying, oops, you really were at 452, so we need to pay you that money. So that is what they settled up with. But that has nothing to do with the original money that we're still talking about that is part of the audit from 2023. That is still out there. And the audit was just submitted to TEA recently. So the 23 school year is still out there as monies that potentially could be re-examined and then redistributed to us. Region 3 finished their audit, sent it to us last week. We submitted that audit to TEA this week and just received word that they are re-examining our 23 school year, fiscal year for those funds. So this is the money the board was talking about, that we needed to have a balanced budget for this year, and we did not want a deficit budget, and we only dealt with the money that we had when we made the budget in August of 2024, and now Demetric is telling you that that money that we thought should have been there, that we weren't getting, is now there.
And we may still get a little bit more.
Potentially, we could get more, but that would be from the 23 school year.
Correct.
So this is settled up for last year.
Correct.
For the
24 school years, 23, 24.
okay,
The one that just finished.
okay.
And now, had we not taken the measures that we took starting in the spring, you would not have even noticed that type of a number, because we would have been so far into our fund balance to the tune of probably about 6.5 or 7 million. So then when this would have come along, then it would have probably put you pretty close to where we reported that we were at the end of the August meeting.
Gotcha.
And remember, I still want everybody to recall that we're still dealing with the county appraisal district's mistake. That money is still out there, and I am in the midst of a negotiation with that, with the insurance company for Landrum and Associates. So that's still money that's out there. What Demetric is telling you is this money, that $1.7 million, is now in the bank that he has access to.
What did we think it was gonna come in at?
What do we think, what was?
What were we projecting this money to come in at?
We really didn't know.
27 students
Yeah.
less than we got,
Yeah.
because we were predicting 425,
Yeah,
and we had 452.
yeah.
We were kind of thinking
We-
about around $1.3 million, $4 million.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, so we got,
This
Yeah, a little bit more.
actually better than what
Right.
I was
Correct.
expecting. I was expecting a little over
A
$1 million.
million, million.
But this came in a lot more. I mean, bottom line, instead of having $8 million fund balance, we've got almost a $10 million fund balance, right at
Correct.
10 million.
Right at 10 million, now I'm waiting.
Right. So that puts us in really good shape too.
And then it gives you an opportunity to use in excess of what you want to use over the 20 or the 22% to be able to do whatever it is that we would.
Good,
need to.
good. And I appreciate the way we did it.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
We
but
didn't
we
go
got
in
to
thinking
do
it was
right.
gonna be high.
Right. But
Better.
anyway, I
Good work.
wanted Demetrius to go through that.
Yes.
So everybody realizes
Thank
that we,
Thank you.
and we're still hopeful that there'll be
Some more.
some more, if everything works out.
Well, right now, we're dependent upon TEA. And I just
Take great
submitted,
comfort in that.
Well, that's helpful.
well, that's why I said, so, you know, we submitted about a 60-page document
Look,
to them, for them to audit. We were supported by the auditors. Remember, we had to pay for them, and they were an independent group, and basically their assumptions were very similar to what I've shared with you, is that they believe that we followed all practices and procedures. Everything was done according to the accounting handbook, Texas Education Code, Texas Administrative Code, and I still believe that our one mistake in changing that one special ed student's ADA and all of the other things that potentially could have happened because of that are what caused the number to go from 425 to 261 2 years ago.
Let's not do that
I
again.
thought it was like a computer deal or something.
Well, we think so.
Yeah.
We don't know what happened, but when we made the change, and the submission we made on June 15th had 425 students in it. The submission we made in July of 2023 had 261. Where those 124 students went, or 164 students went, I can tell you Skyward looked, Region 3 looked, we looked, Region 12 looked, Ms. Rivera looked. Nobody knows where that data went.
it goes down, it's unknown.
It's in a cloud.
That's what I'm saying, cloud.
Well, if there aren't any questions, comments, I guess
We made money.
we'll move on.
No, I'll make a motion to approve the review of the monthly financial reports for the month of September 2024.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Do that. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Anybody opposed? Motion passes. We'll move on now to presentation.
Okay, board members, this should be in your board book. So, our facility committee met last week. This is back about 6 meetings now that we've been through. We had 3 meetings, I guess that was the 5th meeting, and we're about ready to undergo our 6th. Back prior to the facilities committee starting their first meeting on the 30th of September. We have another one scheduled for October 30th, 2024, which will be programming and block design. So basically, they started with a branding option. They threw these branding options out to the committee to look at. I'll let you look at them for just a minute. So they had 5 different options, and you can see what people chose. So basically, people are preferring option 1 or option 4. And you can see the option 1 is the We Can, and the option 4 is El Campo ISD Bond 24. So we will bring those back up to the committee, those 2 options, to see how the individuals who chose options 2, options 5, and options 3, how their vote would go if there were only 2 options left. And then, in addition, we've had great response from the committee. Some weren't able to go on the 16th, and we've already increased the number who agreed to be there on the 30th. So we knew the time commitment was required. So the biggest priorities were ranked as the high school, Hutchins, Northside, Myatt, and the middle school. And you can basically see that the numbers are pretty clear that the high school has got to be the priority. They looked at how they wanted to spend the money. 2 out of every 5 thought we needed to split it up. 3 out of every 5 said we need to focus on the high school. So we looked at the high school and what needs to be taken care of, and it's the buildings that need to be replaced are the AVS building, the H building, the portables, the administration and the cafeteria, the band hall and choir hall, the library, and the gymnasium just received a few votes. Are you in favor of consolidating elementary campuses to accomplish the priorities? And so it was unanimous, all individuals.
Those QR codes, is that how they voted? or
Yes.
what?
That's how they voted. And it accumulated, so it was all, we had 3 members that are here tonight that were also here. I don't think they voted, or maybe you did, I don't know. You did vote? Okay. So the configurations, really, it was a little bit of a just throwing out options, because we just took the total number of student populations and we divided them up. And you can see that in our present configuration, there's 410 at Myatt, 678 at Hutchins, and 476 at Northside. That's 3 campuses. When the original committee started meeting, the interest was from the committee that we address all campuses. And now we're consolidating a little bit and looking, I think pulling our focus in to try and stay within a certain financial range. And so you can see that how they all voted. I will tell you that it is my belief that one of the issues coming up is the size of the campuses statewide, and the number that was thrown out by the Park Hill people, and they'll have data at the next meeting, was about 900. Schools try not to go over 900.
What's driving the idea to consolidate the campuses?
The committee saying that Hutchins needs lots of work, Myatt needs lots of work, and Northside needs lots of work, in addition to the fact that the high school needs a lot of work. So I'm just giving you a summary. We have Mr. Cannell, we have Mr. Vallejo, and Mr. Irwin, who were in the meetings. And so the initial meetings were that if the campuses, the people that were at those meetings basically determined if we don't touch all the campuses, then they're not in favor of dedicating money towards a bond. So, Mr.
Can I,
Please, that's,
when we started getting into it and found out that for a community of our size and our student population, to have 5 campuses is very rare and really unnecessary. And the amount of money we could save by consolidating, I'm not gonna put you to a penny, but it's several $1 million a year that we could save by just being more efficient and not having so many campuses to maintain.
it's a good question, Mr. DeBrock. You
How,
wanna? pursue
How
that.
does that affect the kids, though? I mean, okay, we're more efficient, but are the kids gonna?
Well, I wouldn't support it if I thought the kids weren't gonna get a decent
Well, that's
education.
what I'm wondering. You know, I mean, there's a wide variety from 2nd to 5th grade.
Ocampo's pretty unique in having 3 campuses for elementary, aren't we?
That's
Most
my
only
point.
have.
Yes, and communities do a really good job at educating their children also.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
I know I've been communities are really smaller, but there's K through 5.
Yeah.
All in
And,
one.
and let's keep in mind, I'm not gonna throw anybody under the bus in prior boards, because my dad was one of them, but those, Myatt and Hutchins were tilt wall construction. And it's a very cheap form of construction, 30 or 40, north side, yeah. And they're at the point of reaching their lifespan.
Right.
Hutchins, the original Hutchins, is older than some of the buildings on the high school.
Mhm.
So it just made sense if we're gonna quit putting Band-Aids on the pig and let's get rid of these older buildings and make them more efficient and more secure.
Thank you.
I agree with the recommendation from the consultants. I mean, when you get an elementary campus that's 800-900 kids, and you start sharing the things that you have to share on a campus. So if we eliminate Myatt and go to Northside and Hutchins, we're gonna bring in a good number of additional students to deal with things like gymnasiums, cafeteria, elective type music class and things like that become very, it gets a lot harder
Correct.
to schedule a day to make things work. And all the other things that go with it are gonna have to be.
Right, and I'm glad I forgot to mention that the cafeteria at Hutchins is relatively new in El Campo standards.
Right.
And oversized.
Yeah.
So it made sense to add a building there.
Yeah.
Because it's got capacity.
It's the north side is what he's.
I'm sorry.
No, we added to Hutchins, didn't we?
Yes.
We did.
No, Hutchins.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hutchins.
But Northside's cafeteria is big,
Yeah.
like, huge too.
Northside's cafeteria, from my understanding, is that it was the home to the entire district's
Oh, yeah.
food service.
Yeah, back
Everything
then, they did all
came
the
out
cooking.
of
That's right.
Northside.
Yeah, that's right.
So, remember, there was lots of discussion, and I know that Mr. Primo wrote about that discussion in the paper, and he consolidated what he heard, but at the meeting, no decisions were being made. It was all discussion at that point. I will say to you that the likelihood is more will come out of the October 30th meeting, because we asked, and you'll see that at the very end, we asked Park Hill to come back with more concise numbers on size of the facilities and cost. When they were doing this, it was basically
Big 30,000.
big 30,000 foot, so they were throwing out numbers, because that's what the committee asked them to do at the September meeting. So they came back with some generalities, and then it was defined a little bit more, and so this was the first generality they came up with. And I would share with you that what Mr. Dubrock and what Ms. Nahavitz have stated about the size of the campuses is foremost in the forefront of Park Hill's minds. They don't want to build huge schools. And similar to, I think, what Ms. Smith was asking about grade levels, and I think even Mr. Bender mentioned it earlier, when we're starting talking about consolidating, we're still going to be trying to have small class sizes. We don't want to have early childhood through 5th grade and have 2 of those, because that Ms. Starry has mentioned that would cause an issue of which school does a certain person go to within the community? So the fact that we are grade level specific to a campus is,
Well, I have two thoughts on that.
Yes, please.
One, I very much would be opposed to a neighborhood school. Like, I think it would be a terrible idea. We're doing, one of the things we have going very well is that everybody, if you're in the second grade, you go to the same school.
Right.
So I definitely am in favor of that. I'm very much opposed to option number 3, just talking amongst friends. But that would put 4 grade levels there, over 900 kids, and in 3rd through 5th are all tested grades. So, like, I think you could have basically, if we're gonna do this, a tested campus and a not tested campus, which keeps our numbers more in line, option 2.
yes, so I appreciate that, and that's what we're looking for out of, because you have 3 members on the committee right here that can come back and share, because we can't have all of you in the committee meetings.
Right.
So, Mr. DeBrock, that's a really good input. The issue, and for example, and Ms. Cooey is here, at Ms. Tupa's campus, our 1st graders have bathrooms in their classrooms. But they're not handicap accessible. The doorways aren't handicap accessible, and the bathroom itself is not handicap accessible. What really grade level typically has bathrooms in their classroom are the ones that are in the early childhood or the pre-K type of setting, maybe even into kindergarten. So to renovate Myatt to do all that would be highly expensive. So I think those are the things they're talking about right now, to come back and then provide to the committee more options.
Most everybody agrees with you, the next slide shows
Yeah.
just that.
Get everybody.
It's almost like you're on the committee.
What
Well,
were you looking at?
no, it was, I didn't want to give this information away until you had a chance to look at the previous information, but this is how the groups met. 2 of the 37 wanted, actually 38 people actually voted here. 2 of the 38 people who voted wanted to keep the current configuration. 8 were in favor of option 3, and 28 were in favor of option 2. So basically, here's kind of what you're looking at. These are all just, look, my job is to provide you with data. So this is just surfacey data. This is not specific or accurate totally. So if you did a Hutchins renovation, it would cost about $20,750,000.
And that's based on if you were to
Just going in,
consolidate campuses?
no, that's just
going in and fixing what needs to be
going in and
fixed
fixing
as is.
as it is.
Okay.
So going in, renovate Hutchins, doing what needs to be done in the 1st grade hallway and the 2nd grade hallway, and keeping a 1960 building as the first 2 levels. And then the 3rd level is the new construction we did in 2014. Demoing the 1st and 2nd wings, the ones that are furthest on the south, and reconstructing 2 brand new replacements would cost about $26 million. Brand new construction, modern techniques, modern safety, modern electricity, modern heating, ventilation, air conditioning, etc. Remodeling north side, renovating north side would be $7,250,000. Doing a renovation and adding a new addition would be $23,500,000. That would be to go to option 2, as Mr. DeBrock mentioned earlier. And then the high school, to renovate the facilities that need to be there, would be $5,250,000. New construction would be $33,900,000, and total would be $39,750,000. It all totals up to be around $89 million. We are not in favor, or the committee is not in favor of bringing anything to the board that would recommend an increase in taxes. But this would, if, let's just say you did, Hutchins demo and new addition, Northside renovation and new addition, and renovate the high school. The oldest building that we would have would be the high school science wing, which we just spent lots of money to renovate, and according to the architects, it is in really good shape. The high school A building, which was, I'm looking at Rich, because you probably know when that was finished,
Probably
98?
98.
That's what I would say, yes. So that would be the oldest building you have amongst. This is academics only, there is no extracurricular. The one thing that people might say is band, but band is not an extracurricular. It's actually a co-curricular and it's taught during the day, so the band hall would be a part of the new construction. So, what we told them to go home and work on are the following three things. Give us more detail on the elementary configuration options and for the meeting on the 30th. Give us more specificity on construction costs based on the new options presented. And then give us more specificity on the high school construction options. So at the next meeting, that will be the plan. People will actually have an opportunity to take the square footage and actually place them on a construction figure with little blocks.
Dimitri, do you have like I know it said $1 million or so, but the actual like annual savings we would see, you think if we consolidated those campuses?
I don't have it in front of me, but I can get that to you.
That would be with us, so I'm assuming we would talk that Myatt would be the one we would not occupy. We would, right?
Right.
Okay, you were saying when your dad was on for Northside that those buildings were,
They're both tilt wall.
The tilt wall construction, which is a form of construction,
but
at the
if,
time was very popular, but
yeah, but if we're gonna renovate that, are we gonna be any better off? If we're just doing renovation?
The biggest issue with them is the roof, is it not?
All of those
I think there's
items.
several.
All of those items would be, what I will tell you is the architects were impressed with the structure at Northside more than the other buildings.
Huh.
Myatt, for example, had to have some additions that create the gym to not be handicap accessible. There's actually a ramp that is way over the inch per foot or half inch per foot ADA compliance. Where it's joined with the facility has issues. And the kitchen at Myatt is extremely small. So in the facility right there, the young elementary kids have gang restrooms. They do not have anything in their classroom.
speaking of Kathy's, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but the way that they were, and again, this is all preliminary, but say Northside is here, I think they would build they were talking about a new structure south of it.
Correct.
And there's so much land over there that once the existing Northside is
Past its,
what needs to go away, they'll build on the south side.
Okay, well, that would make it, yeah.
So it's all kind of contiguous. I think, is that right?
Right.
that is correct.
Okay.
So the plan would be that we know that Northside is gonna need, and we don't, I will tell you that what I heard from the committee is that they want to spend as little as potentially possible to make our facilities up to date. So there would not necessarily be there won't be $7,250,000 of renovation to Northside if the plan would be to build something right next to it, so that in 10, 15 years from now, when this structure has reached its end of life, that whatever would be constructed south would have it built so there would be an easy transition to roll what is here over there.
What would happen if Hutchins and Northside become your two new campuses? What would happen to the old Myatt?
Well, that would be up to the board for us to decide, but there are a lot of factors that we could use. We could put special ed business office and
So you renovate?
repurpose it with, what do you call your department? Accountability and assessment, right? Basically, teaching and learning. So all three of those could go into one facility. And the bigger issue would be, there would be less square footage for Macklemore to have to take care of, so the cost for those would go down because they would be new facilities. You'd have less maintenance costs. I don't know how much of our cost, but Demetra can find that out. There would be less costs involved in maintenance, having brand new facilities and renovated facilities than there would be with a building that was built in 1960.
No doubt.
I think Mac, the Parkville guys told, I should have wrote that down, but what they've been seeing is like a new building versus an old building, just in AC efficiency was like $7 a square foot per year or something, just,
Plus, better.
yeah,
Yeah.
better in the good,
Yeah.
which was staggering kind of to me. But they also said, although we have some really, really old buildings that need replaced, we're pretty fortunate on having the land to do
Yeah.
what we're talking. He said a lot of the schools they deal with are landlocked and they don't have that opportunity. So kudos to the prior board having land over
So that's all I got.
Okay, any other discussion? We're gonna move along then.
Closed
No
session.
questions? Yep. We will, go into closed session.
Y'all are more than welcome to stay, but I'm sharing with everybody that if you'll look at the agenda following closed session, there are no action items, and my guess is that when we come out of closed session, Mr. Dorotic will say, we're now entering open session. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? But I could be wrong. Miss Rivera, and before everybody goes, I just need to say publicly, this is Miss Rivera's last meeting. And I have greatly appreciated her being here, her professionalism. I think she adds an awful lot to us. And I would just like for all of you to acknowledge what she's done. That's it.
The time is 7:45.
You're staying, aren't you, Miss Story?
You need me to stay?